You too.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. Today we will be going through student pads and tips and tricks for off-campus accommodation. So just a few house rules. Please keep your mic muted and drop your questions in the chat. Okay, please, next slide. The next one, please. Yeah, so today on the call, there are actually four people. So I'm going to be here. So I'm Priya Bisina, and I'm joined by Frank and Emma from Student Union, who will be taking the presentation. I'm also joined by Abby as well, and one of my colleagues from DCU Global. Please, can I ask that you keep your mics muted, and if you have questions, please drop them in chat. At the end of the presentation, we would go through any questions that you have. So I'll pass it over to Emma for her to take the rest of the presentation.
Perfect. Can you hear me okay? Brilliant. Okay. So hi everyone. So basically, my name's Emma. I'm Vice President for Community and Citizenship in the Students' Union. And basically what my job entails is a lot of accommodation queries, and we have our own platform then called StudentPad, where people from the community can advertise their spare rooms, or whether they have like a house that they're putting up for rent, a spare room, a granny flat, whatever it might be. And we basically will get them in, we'll have a chat with them, we'll figure out what they kind of want to do with it. And we'll get it up on our website as an ad. So then students like you can go on and make the whole accommodation journey a little bit easier. So yeah, StudentPad is a free to use platform that allows DCU students to view property advertisements in the local community. Students sign up using their student number and their student email so that it can be verified that they are a DCU student. So we have brought in StudentPad as even like you could call it a safety measure. I suppose in the past we'd seen cases of whether it was students being scammed, giving a deposit for accommodation that wasn't real, or even a landlord being scammed for a student that like didn't exist. So yeah, homeowners in the area provide us with a form of ID and proof of address to ensure that their property is real and legitimate. Digs house shares, studio apartments are the most common properties that we see advertised on it. Yeah, so this is our kind of price limit slide. So we let people charge no more than 650 a month for a 5-day basis. So that'd be for students who aren't staying on the weekends, and that's for the month. And then no higher than 850 a month for a 7-day week basis. So we try to keep it in line with kind of other accommodations in the area. And as I said, like they're maximums, but they're not, oh, it has to be this price. We say anything under that is what we want to see. So we recommend that that's inclusive of all bills, and sometimes meals will be included at an additional cost. But as we usually tell students or landlords, it's up to you, whoever you might meet on the website, it's up to you to kind of figure out the terms and conditions of what your stay actually will be. So useful tips for off-campus accommodation. You have a legal right to pay your rent monthly. No one can ask you to do it in one big go, and you can't be charged extra for that, and you have a legal right to that. No more than 28 days notice is needed to terminate your agreement. So if you're staying somewhere and you need to leave, all you need to give is 28 days. If someone says you need to give more, they're lying to you. Legally, a landlord cannot ask for more than 1 month's rent as a deposit. So if you're being asked for a safety deposit for any kind of damage, or they're saying it'll pay your last month's rent, it cannot be more than a month's rent, and don't let them tell you that it can. Remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So before moving in, look at the agreement, sign an agreement. For private accommodation, always request a lease. Abstain in digs, make a clear written agreement of the house rules and make yourself familiar with them. Ensure that your lease is in line with rental legislation, and you can see that on these websites here. Services, is there free Wi-Fi? Are you paying for it? Are you paying for electricity and gas, or is it included in your rent? If not, make sure to discuss this with your landlord or accommodation provider. Deposit, how much is it? Don't pay a deposit without a rental agreement, and make sure to get a receipt. So anyone that ever comes to us, we will send them a digs agreement that they can share with their landlord, and it outlines just about everything under the sun now. It is a template, so you can pull whatever you want from it. Things that like it goes as far as mentioning pets or whatever it might be. So you can kind of pull what bits you think suit your agreement from it. And it's a good thing to have because it protects both yourself and the landlord in case of any kind of trouble. Liability, make sure it's clear between yourself and the accommodation provider who is responsible in regards to paying the bills or the rent if the tenant leaves. What changes can be made to the property, for example, hanging items, painting. So if you're allowed to like hang up posters or whatever it might be, always make sure that you have permission so that you can't get in trouble for it. Photos, take photos of the interior and exterior. This is important in case you at some point get accused of causing any damage. So you can email them to the accommodation provider on the day they've been taken. And it just protects you against say they come in at the end of the year and they're like, oh, that scratch on the wall wasn't there when you moved in, but it was. It's a good thing just to have like proof that, you know, it wasn't your fault and that you can't be held to account for anything that wasn't your fault. So property, do the doors and windows lock? Is there a fire alarm? Is there a fire extinguisher? Who else has keys? Who are you going to be sharing the accommodation with? Damp and mold, check all corners of the room, the mattress. The corners of the room are typically the places that you'll get mold, especially we do see it a lot in student accommodation. So it is something that if you come in, you see a bit of mold, report it to your landlord straight away. Appliances, are they all working? Are they all safe? You're looking at your cooker, your Hoover, your microwave, sink, fridge, freezer, toilet, shower, water pressure, whatever it might be. Make sure you have a good look at all of that before you're properly settling. And if anything is wrong, you get in touch with, again, your landlord. Rent pressure zones. So this mainly applies to digs or if you're renting private accommodation. Check your accommodation is in a rent pressure zone. So that means that your rent can only increase by 2% per year. So it means that next year your landlord can't turn around and be like, we're up in the rent by $2,000, because you do see it and you have rights to that. So you need to keep an eye on stuff like that. And the garden, this again is like maybe more applicable in like a house share or something where a whole house is being rented out, you're not living with your landlord. And basically it's just that if you have a garden, who takes care of it? Have they provided you with a lawnmower or whatever it might be if they're expecting you to cut the grass? So yeah, if you ever need any help, these are organizations that you can come to. So Threshold, they're fantastic. They have something that I find very useful even in my job is that if you go onto their website, it's just look up Threshold, it'll be the first thing that comes up. They have a live chat box. You can go in, you can give them any query you might have, and they'll just they just have someone that on this live chat that'll just give you it back. You don't even have to email anyone. It's fantastic. Money advice and budgeting services, the RTB, Residential Tenancies Board, Community Action Tenants Union, some very cool people. We love to see unions, so yeah, Catty are cool. Property Services Regulatory Authority, and your Vice President for Community and Citizenship. That won't be me next year, but there's someone coming in next Tuesday that'll be taking this job who is very into accommodation and unions and will be a great person to go to if you have any questions regarding accommodation. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Emma, for taking us through that. I hope that was like really informative. So we'll take questions soon, but I just wanted to quickly remind you guys that we have the International Student Panel coming up next week on the 5th of May. We also have Student Support Services on the 3rd of July, so there'll be a little break in between, and then we have the Employability as an international student on the 10th of July. So please be sure, if you have not registered for those webinars, to look out. We'll be sending out links to the second half of the webinar series soon. Yeah, so yeah.
I think it's just a typo, and it's the 5th of June, though, yeah, not the 5th of May.
Yeah, so it's the 5th of June, yeah, not May, yeah. So please, next slide. Yeah, so if you have not, please check out the Going app. So it's an exclusive app for international offer holders and incoming students, a place for you to meet peers, fellow incoming students and current students. It also would allow you to be able to prepare and plan for your arrival in DCU. You can make groups based on your own interests. And there's so many vibrant groups already on the app, and you can build connections, there. So if you haven't, please check your email for the registration link and register as well. Okay. Next one. And please be sure to follow us on our social media handles to stay up to date with the latest content. So we would go through your questions now. Please, again, try to keep your questions as general as possible. We will not be able to respond to individual or questions that are too personal. So if you have any questions that are too specific, please send an email directly to DCU Global Recruitment, and we'll be able to answer your questions then. So let's just go through the questions and I'll answer a few. I'd like to know about the trusted websites apart from. Okay, so for trusted websites, apart from rent.ie and daft.ie, I think those two are the ones that I am aware of. Again, while you are on those websites, please just try to be cautious and try to verify as much as you can. Yeah, but those two are the ones that I would say you should keep going to. About student hosting. So someone is asking a question about which month is recommended for them to search for accommodations. To be honest, I'd say the sooner you can, the better. Start your search as early as possible. But one advice that I would give is try to, if it is possible for you, try not to make a deposit payment until you have seen the accommodation for yourself. If anyone is trying to rush you into making a payment, then please just try to be cautious about that. But again, the sooner you can start the search for accommodation, the better it is for you. We'll be sending out the registration links for the other webinars very soon. So please just look out for at your emails and send them to you very soon.
I think there's a question just about the best and safest areas. So Dublin is, you'll see on most accommodations that Dublin will have a code. So I see somebody that's not muted there. Let's mute them. Sorry. In Dublin, it's split up by codes. So each area has a postcode. So it's Dublin 1, 2, 3, 4. So DCU is located in Dublin 9. So if you want to be close to DCU, Dublin 9 is obviously the best. Dublin 7 is also close. Dublin 3. Anything that has an odd number, you're located on the north side of Dublin where DCU is located. But there is good transport links from lots of different areas. So I would advise checking out on Google Maps or on some sort of maps to see if that area is well connected to DCU, because lots of them will be, even if they're not located right beside DCU. I think there's also a question, Emma, you might be able to help with about having a student mail ID to sign up for the student platform. So is it possible to sign up without that ID?
So yeah, what we have done in the past, when students don't have, whether it's a CAO number or they don't have their DCU email yet, we have talked to the office that they might be talking to about coming to DCU, and we've set up a specific code with that office, which is something that can be done here with the next officer that comes in with yourselves. And I'll say that to him just so that is something that gets set up kind of from the start. So we'd have a specific code so we know what kind of office you're being sent to us from. And then with that, we know that maybe you don't have your DCU email or whatever it might be at the time. So once we see that code, we're like, yeah, grand, we know where that's coming from. We know it's not someone just trying to jump onto our website that isn't a DCU student. So yeah, that'll be fine. We'll deal with that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we can set that up and then we'll circulate it to all our offer holders so they can use
Yeah.
it.
Great.
So somebody's asking about how safe it is to stay with families willing to rent out rooms. I think maybe Emma, you might be able to provide some insight into that.
Yeah, so I mean, like any accommodation, you know, you're moving in somewhere that you're not completely aware of, you know, like especially I suppose moving in with a family from a student perspective is scary. It's like, oh, I don't know these people, I don't know their routine. That's why we'd always recommend going to meet them first, seeing the room, making sure that everything's fine for you, that you get on, whatever it might be. But we do hear some great stories of people who've come to college in maybe their first year and they've stayed with their family or their landlord for their whole 4 years of college and gotten on really well. Typically people do enjoy their time. Like we get the odd, okay, this didn't work out, and that does happen. But the majority of the stories that we hear are positive, which is a great thing. And it is just with the situation that we have right now in Ireland and with accommodation, is that digs is something that we will be relying on for a little while until we get more student accommodation built. But I think a lot of the time you are looking at someone who's decided to kind of like open up their house to someone, which is a big step for anyone to take. So it is just it's about kind of making sure that you find the right person or the right family or whatever it might be, and that you get on and that you'll be comfortable living there. So it's all about just doing your kind of like preparation work and not just jumping into anything.
Great, yeah, I think that covers it pretty well. Somebody's just asking if we can expect any more vacancies at any time because they're not finding many at the moment. I don't know, maybe as students start to leave their accommodation, vacancies might start to free up over the summertime. But I'd say they just pop up kind of at random times. So the best thing is probably just to constantly monitor, constantly look out on different websites, constantly look at the student platform. Because it's not really a specific time when vacancies will show up, they'll kind of show up at random times. So I think just constantly be looking and constantly keeping your eye out is probably the best rule of thumb.
Can I just jump in there for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
Something that we do during the summer, where we get people from the local community in to get them signed up to StudentPod. And basically like we work with DCU comms and they send out leaflets to all the houses around the area. So anyone that has a spare room is aware of what's going on. And we basically find that a lot of people come in, they meet us and they get signed up. So we kind of have those, like the summer months for us are very busy with people trying to advertise their rooms. So over the next like June, July, August, like the next few months, StudentPod should be getting a bit busier. So it is something to keep an eye on.
Okay, great. Yeah. Then somebody's just asking about any alternative solutions to student platform. So somebody mentioned rent.ie and daft.ie are the main true trusted providers. I can throw the name of them in the chat. But there are other ways of getting them, but they are the two kind of main trusted providers where you're kind of most likely to get legitimate accommodation options. As well, if anybody has any other questions or questions relating to things other than accommodation, you can always email the email that I'll throw in the chat as well. We're always on hand to help out in any way that we can. Then I know there's a question just about accommodation and our orientation. I know orientation is a different date, but the specific date is going to be sent around to everybody soon. You will receive an email once it's confirmed. It is very likely that it will just be in the week or two before the starting date, which is the 9th of September. So you can most likely assume that will be in that week or two before that. But the exact dates and exact schedule and timetable will be sent out very soon. So somebody's just asking about DCU rooms. So we did have an accommodation last week on DCU rooms. The full thing can be viewed through the link that will be in the thank you email. So you'll be able to find a full in-depth rundown of DCU rooms, but they don't offer temporary accommodation in DCU rooms. So this is only for people that get 9 to 12 month stays that win the lottery system. So they don't offer temporary places to stay if you fail to sort accommodation, sadly.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I think there are no more question. Well, okay, there's just a question about when we would know the results of the lottery. I'm not sure like exactly what day.
They are supposed to be in the first 2 weeks of June. So by the end of the second week of June, everyone that's won the first round of the lottery will know. If people then don't accept their offer from the lottery system, you might find out later, but the first round of offers for the lottery system will be out within the first 2 weeks of June.
So yeah, once again, thanks everyone for joining. I hope this has been informative. Again, like if you have any questions after now, please feel free to send it to the email that Frank dropped in the chat. I think this is a good place to end it, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Yep. And the recording will be sent out in the thank you email. So if anybody does want to look over it, the recording will be there.